Pleasant morning, students. Welcome back to Edistar's online session of Class 8 History. We have discussed about some of the tribal groups and their lives in your previous video session, alright? So, you all have some ideas about the lives of tribes. Well, let's see how the colonial rule had affected their lives. Before the arrival of British, the tribal chiefs are very important in forest areas and they had an economic power and also had the right to administer and control their territories. In some of the areas, the tribal chiefs had their own policies and decided on local rules and administered forest areas. But under the British rule, their lives entirely changed and all their functions and powers of tribal chiefs reduced. They were allowed to keep their lands over a cluster of villages and rent out lands, but they lost their administrative power and also forced British to follow the laws of colonial government in India. They had to pay tribute to British and also to discipline their own groups on behalf of colonial officials. And they lost their authorities how they were before, and they were unable to fulfill their traditional functions what they were practiced earlier for a long time. By this time, British felt uncomfortable with nomadics and shifting cultivators. So they wanted these nomads to settle down and become peasants. Because once they were settled in a particular place, then it's easier to control and administer. As we know it very well, the British sole motto to earn money in India. So they wanted a source of regular flow of revenue for the state and they introduced an act of land settlements to collect revenues. That is, they behaved with measuring the lands and given rights to that land and finally fix revenue for each plot of lands. Some peasants were declared as owners and others as tenants. And those tenants are supposed to pay rent to the landowners and the landowners paid to the British government like what you learn in chapter 2 from trade to territory. I hope all you remember that well. But the effort of British to settling the nomads was not successful as the settled cultivation is not easy to do in dry areas. So they suffered as their land didn't produce any yields. So the Jum cultivators in northeast India, again they continued their traditional practice and tribals started protesting against the British government. And there is no other way for British than allowing them their own rights to carry on shifting cultivation further. Let's see about the impacts of forest laws. The life of tribal groups was directly connected to the forest. So, all the changes in forest law had a considerable effect on tribals' life. British extended control on all forests and they declared all the forests as state property and they declared it's a reserved area. So in this reserved areas, tribals was not allowed to move in because the logs and timberwoods which were produced in this forest went to British hands as they are in demand to make sleeper coaches in our railway department. This is the reason why the people were not allowed to move in. Over time, the British faced a problem to cut the trees. Now they are in demand of laborers to cut the trees to make sleeper coaches. So the colonial officials came up with a solution which favors them to give small patches of land to Jum cultivators to ensure a regular supply of cheap labor. But tribal groups reacted against the forest class and also continued an illegal practices against British government. And at that time it was in rebellion. Such a revolt led in 1906 in Assam as Sangram Sangma and others as Forest Satyagraha of 1930s in central provinces. During 18th century, silk was more in demand as we all know it very well. Our Indian silk and cotton played a major role in world market because of the fine quality. So they are in time to trade with tribals, mainly Santhal groups. So they asked tribals to rear cocoons, but the tribals got an least amount of rupees 3 to 4 for rearing thousands of cocoons. And they were sold by traders or middlemen in market more than 5 times as rupees 15 to 20, and this were exported further to Burdwan or Gaya. This made the Santals to raise against British officials. From late 19th century, the tribals started working in tea plantations in Assam and coal mines in Jharkhand. As they were recruited through contractors, so they got only a lower wages. But there is no other way to escape from British law. So they work for lower wages for very long time. Number of revolts was started against the British Empire and their laws. It's against the revenue system and exploitation by traders and moneylenders. There was various revolt came up further, that is Cole's revolt in 1831 to 1832, Santals rolls in 1855 and Bastard Rebellion in Central India in 1910 and Warli Revolt in Maharashtra in 1914. Some of the major revolts were motivated and further led by a great leader, Birsa Munda. As we discussed about Birsa Munda previous in this chapter, he was born in 1870s in Chotanagpur Plateau and grew up in the forest area of Puganda. He faced a poverty in his childhood days and he heard a number of tales, and their elders were talked about the golden age of Mundas. So he thought their ancestral rights would be restored now by him. He went to missionary schools and listened the sermons of missionary. Later he went to Vaishnava group to know about the practices of Vaishnavas. Later he rejected both the Hinduism and Christianity and he created his own momentum. So he urged his Mundas people to give up liquor practices and to clean their village areas and also stop believing in witchcraft or black magic. And he believed that all these three practices will restore their golden age. He turned against both Christianity and Hinduism. He talked about the golden age Satyug. Under Satyug, he believed that would have a good life, good trees and arcades in their forest areas. Britishers felt British was under threat because of Birsa Munda. They arrested Birsa in 1895 and convicting him on charges of rioting and jailed him for 2 years of time. When he came out from jail in 1897, he again urged people to destroy Ravana, and he is considering Ravanas as The Coos are outsiders or British officials, and they attacked police station, and Birsa followed the guerrilla warfare techniques, and he attacked those churches and raided the properties of all the moneylenders and zamindars who worked for British government and raised voice against the British Empire. Slowly they raised the white flag as a symbol of Birsa Raj. Finally in 1900, Birsa died of cholera and he created history. First, he forced the Britishers to introduce new laws for tribals, and second, as he expressed that tribals had the capacity to protest against injustice and express their anger. These are the preachings of Birsa to his followers. Recently, Jharkhand government had launched a Sahit Gram Vikas Yojana. It aimed at developing villages of freedom fighters in the state. It was launched from Uligatu village. It's a birthplace of tribal freedom fighter Great Birsa Munda. With this, we covered. Let's see the elsewhere part, which is there at end of your chapter. Why do we need cash? Yeah, we need cash to survive our life. That is to buy our essentials from the market areas, right? Let's see why the tribals and other social groups are not ready or not willing to sell their produce in market. This is a tribal song from Papua which gives us a glimpse of how the tribals are viewing the market. We say cash is unsatisfactory. Trust, they are saying that if we say we need cash, then it is about trust for us because it won't keep off rain and it gives me pain. So, why should I work my guts from coconut trees for these government muds? That is the tribals are saying to the song, why I have to use all my guts and energy to collect those coconuts from coconut trees for these British muds. Cash cropping is all very well. And what is there to buy in a market? There is nothing to buy. Should I bother? This is adapted from a song quoted in Cone, Clap and Haspel Eds, The Economy of Subsistence Agriculture in the year of 1970. With this, we came to an end of this chapter. Read this chapter very well and you will get a clear idea about it. Let me say what you have to write for your classwork. You have to write about jhum cultivators, hunters and gatherers, and also about herded animals and about the tribal chiefs. That is what happened to tribal chief. And also about the forest law and their impacts. And finally, about Birsa Munda. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay home, stay happy. Bye.